Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the peak-to-peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Roses Are Free, and it's performed by Colorado Junction String Band. They performed this song live at Four Noses Brewery, and they'll be coming back with a brand new lineup in 2025. Be sure to keep an eye on their Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to learn more about their presence as a band. In the meantime, as a warm-up performance, a current member of the lineup and a previous member of the lineup will be performing at Busey Brews very soon as the Colorado Junction Duo. More details coming up after this week's interview.
Pumpkin and rely on your destiny. Get in your car and cruise the land of the brave and free. Don't forget to understand exactly what you put on the tree. Don't believe the florist when he tells you that the roses are free. Well, take a wrinkled razor, do with it what you will.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. Now, I know that I mentioned last episode that we would have Marianne Rosen's regular segment air earlier this week, but the segment is not quite ready yet, and I did not end up getting a backup episode ready to go, so in the end, you're just getting this episode this week. I'm sorry about that, guys. But don't worry, Marianne Rosen's regular segment will be ready by this Monday, and it will be up by then. On Wednesday, to make up for the missing episode this week, I'll be airing a community-centered episode of the Mountaineer Podcast that I have already recorded and just need to edit. And then on Friday, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled Music of the Mountains segment. Before we get into this week's Music of the Mountains, though, a couple things. First off, because I didn't get an earlier episode of the podcast out this week, I was not able to promote this weekend's movie at the Backdoor Theater, which is the second weekend in a row for A Complete Unknown rated R. The logline reads as thus: in 1961, an unknown 19-year-old Bob Dylan arrives in New York City with his guitar and forges relationships with music icons on his meteoric rise, culminating in a groundbreaking performance that reverberates worldwide. In the end, though, it might not end up mattering much anyway. There is still going to be a showing of this movie tonight, Friday, January 17th, starting at 7 p.m., but both Saturday showings of this movie for Saturday, January 18th have been canceled. The Backdoor Theater will be back to its regular schedule next week, and I'll make sure to actually promote next week's movie in advance this time, but this week, both Saturday showings are canceled. Second thing, if you haven't subscribed to The Mountaineer yet, we highly recommend you do. We would really appreciate the support for us and for local journalism as a whole. If you want to support The Mountaineer by subscribing today, then please head to our website at themtnear.com. There, you can peruse certain articles completely free of charge, but if you want access to the full digital archive, scans of the physical copies of the newspaper, or potentially a physical edition of the newspaper received in your mailbox or the mailbox of someone you love, then be sure to subscribe on the website today. Plus, if you stay tuned until the very end of this episode, you'll get a very special discount meant specifically for our podcast listeners. And finally, here's a quick message brought to you by The Mountaineer.
Are you interested in advertising? The Mountaineer has advertising in print, on our website, through our social media. We have 3 guides each year, coupon insertions, and more. Want more information? Email marketing@themountaineer.com or give Bethany a call at 720-960-2900.
All right, everyone, let's jump into this week's Music of the Mountains segment. We've got multiple guests on board this week for the same band. Our guests this week, you want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Well, I'll start. I'm Dave Weisbart. I'm the bass player in the band.
Christopher Spurlock. I'm the mandolin player in the band.
And I am Troy Yanel. I play guitar and I sing. And I would say Mr. Weisbart, Mr. Spurlock also sing as well.
That is true.
This band, by the way, is Colorado Junction String Band, which I hear is coming back in full swing in the year of 2025.
Yep, we have a duo show up there coming up, I do believe, Sunday, January 26th, for a little ski apree from 2 to 4. We get up there probably every 3 months and play their little awesome brewery. They just expanded on the back and added the back, which is awesome, but just great food, great barbecue, and a good place to watch music.
We'll talk more about the duo show a little later in the interview. But first, I wanted to ask about this new lineup of Colorado Junction. Troy, it sounds like you guys really want to kick the band back into gear again.
Yeah, we had a reshuffle last year just naturally with musicians. We had a couple people start different projects, and so we reached out to some old friends. Me and Chris Spurlock played in a band years ago, Mighty Pleasin. And again, just music roads take you different places. And then Bobby Krech was another player that we played with, and him and Spurlock played together in other bands, and we just kind of fused projects. And me and Dave have been playing for several years with this Colorado Junction project, and I think this is Colorado Junction 3.0, with the next level of musicianships and just having fun with it. It's all about the music and just having fun.
So I'm curious, Dave and Chris, how long have you guys known Troy?
I've known Troy, since 2015, I believe. I met Troy about the same time I met Bobby. And I believe we met kind of going just on Craigslist, looking for people to jam with back then. I mean, I know a lot of people use social media now, but back then we were using Craigslist to kind of get jam picks going together. And I met Troy through that, and I actually met Bobby through that too, back in 2015. And then we just split, the three of us at that point. So we started a little project called Mighty Pleasin with one of my good friends, Quinn McKay, on bass. And we played around for a while, and Bobby was already in another group called Strung High String Band up in Montezuma or Summit County. And he kind of pulled me along with him to join that group. And we're still actually playing with that group today. So that's our mountain band, Strung High String Band. And then our front range band is Colorado Junction.
Yeah, and I think if there's any central thread to this whole story, it's definitely Craigslist, because that's also where Troy and I met. And gosh, how long has it been, Troy?
It was quarantine. So yeah.
It was many years.
Would have been the summer of right after quarantine happened, we started.
Yeah, and we just started.
That's how me and Chris met too. Actually, that's how I met both you and Troy and Chris on Craigslist.
That's the theme.
Yeah.
In that section of audio, you probably heard a ping and just now a fourth voice. Well, the fourth member of the current lineup of Colorado Junction has just joined the meeting. So, member number 4, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'm Bobby. Me and Chris Spurlock are neighbors, and been playing music with these guys for a couple years now. Chris for a long time, and actually Troy too. Met them at the same time. But
I was saying 2015, I think we all three met. And it's actually crazy to meet somebody on Craigslist and then joining a band and playing for 9 years. And I literally bought the house right next to him. So we're literally neighbors now.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And yes, that Bobby is Bobby Krech, who Troy mentioned earlier. So Bobby, how long have you been playing with these guys?
Boy, I think has it been 2 years or 1 year? I can't remember.
About a year.
1 year. I think I played with them for a year last summer. So I've been in Arizona for half the year. So I'm down here right now, but I'm in Colorado for the summer.
His role in the band is badass fiddle player.
Yeah, badass fiddle.
Well, now that all 4 of you are here, I want to ask about all of your musical backstories. How did you all get started in music? All that kind of stuff. Where did it all begin? At this point, I opened the floor to whichever member wanted to go first, and Dave volunteered first.
I can tell you my backstory to some degree. I actually came from New York City. My parents had a jazz club in New York City, so I grew up with music all around me. Definitely wanted to be a musician from high school, and my parents were like, well, you got to finish college and then do whatever you want. So I was like, okay, great. So I got a philosophy degree because I knew they couldn't make me do anything if I got a philosophy degree. Bobby. And then I joined a band, which was Band du Jour, played around Boulder in the 90s. And that band was actually pretty well known around here. And then I quit that band and then just started playing in a lot of local bands. Americana Highway, which is a Americana band, Groovalicious, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so that's my story.
At this point, I volunteered the next person who wanted to talk about their past to have the floor. And honestly, that wasn't a good way to organize my questioning. I should have thought of a particular order I wanted to ask these members about their pasts in. But thankfully, Chris volunteered to speak next.
I'll go. So, yeah, I've had kind of history of music running through my family. I picked up a ukulele when I was 2. And I mean, I have home videos of me playing it and singing. My uncle, Keith Hardy, was a really good musician out here in Colorado. He grew up here, went to Colorado Mountain College, did some recordings back in the 70s. And I know when I was growing up, my dad and him would get together in the early 80s. You know, Friday night is happy hour, and there's always a couple guitars out, and so I would try to mimic what they're doing from 2 years old up. And then my folks put me through piano lessons from 5 years old through high school. I played trombone in 5th grade on up to high school. Kind of came naturally to me. I got a pretty good ear, I'd say. And back then I was pretty good at sight reading as well. I picked up guitar probably more later in middle school into high school. And then once I got into college, my buddy had a mandolin and I picked that up and I kind of said, this is my jam. I still play everything else, but I really focused on mandolin, listened to a lot of Yanel String Band, a lot of Sam Bush, you know, old time bluegrass, Bill Monroe. I mean, all across the board, really. String Cheese Incident, I mean, college was big for me. And then I joined my first professional group in 2009 called the Schwillbillies. And we were based out of Boulder, Denver area. And we played a lot. We used to open up for Vince Herman and Great American Taxi a bunch. We played Ned Fest. We played up in the mountains, just pretty much all over Colorado. And the more you play, the more you learn. You can understand where you want to go with music, really. And after that, it would have been right when I met Bobby and Troy, still playing. And of course, Telluride Bluegrass Festival has been a big thing for me. The Colorado bluegrass scene, as far as the family of everybody in it, going to Telluride and Rocky Grass and all these great events. There's a lot of great musicians that have moved to Colorado, and it's kind of family. So to start up a new group down here, I was happy to join this group, and we still have Strung High up in the mountains, and here we are in 2025. So
just a quick note that I wanted to mention before we move on. Chris got new earbuds for Christmas, and so he accidentally hung up on the call twice, once during that audio segment and once directly after. When he came back, I reassured him that all the technical difficulties would be edited out of the episode, which they have been, and here was his response.
Oh, it's okay. You can post it. I don't care.
I have to say, I appreciate that attitude a lot. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, I should have asked everybody to share their backstories in a particular order. But at this point, I did want to emphasize Bobby's backstory next for a particular reason that I'll get into. But I asked Bobby if he would be willing to go next.
All right. Well, my musical career kind of started really young. I was like a few months old, and my sister was rocking me in the chair, and she smacked against the bookshelf. And my great-great-great-grandfather's fiddle came down and cracked me in the head and gave me this scar. And it looks like a V. It's crazy. So I've always had that story my whole life. And I had to get stitches, but I was maybe like 4 months old or something. And so I've always had that story. And, you know, my dad was in the Navy jazz band in Guam in the 50s. So he was like a professional musician, but then he had a bunch of kids, had 5 sisters and 3 brothers. So he had to support the family and stopped doing music and teaching and stuff. And yeah, he taught me. I was always obsessed with watching like symphony and stuff. I always was very infatuated with violin. But in 5th grade is when I started. And yeah, I always had that story. So I was just kind of obsessed and started playing in school and then taking private lessons in Metropolitan Youth Symphonies and stuff out here in Arizona and Mesa. And then got into playing swing and jazz stuff with the church. Some kids from the church, they were all into like jazz, and they had piano and horns and all kinds of cool stuff. That was like my first taste at a band. And I always played in orchestra and stuff like that in school. But then I started playing professionally. My first band, the High Grass Pickers, out here in Tempe. And yeah, the first time I heard Holding in the Way, I was like hooked on bluegrass. So, and Yonder was hitting hard. And we moved to Colorado from Arizona and just played in tons of bands out there, at least 20 of them. And yeah, met Troy and Chris. And yeah, it's been a blessing playing with these guys. And Dave, amazing bass player. And yeah, the energy's really good. We all sing. It's really exciting to hear. And then Troy's got a sweet board. We're getting all these live recordings and you can listen back to them. They're really good. Ned Trailfest and a lot of stuff at Four Noses. But yeah, out here I'm just woodshedding, bought a PA system, booked St. Patty's Day, 5 sets. It's gonna be crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna put it to the test. And I got this annual gig I play out in Lake Havasu with my good friend Gramps out there. Life's good. I'll be coming back and joining these boys in mid-April. Really excited about it.
I wanted to give some additional details for this particular episode of the podcast because after the interview, I ended up calling Bobby to get some details straight to make sure I got them right in the podcast episode. He gave me an additional detail of the story of how he came to love the fiddle that I just had to mention here. As he mentioned himself, his great-great-great-grandfather's fiddle got knocked over from a bookshelf and hit him on the head, scarring him. At one point later on, in his teenage years, he woke up in the middle of the night hearing strange, eerie, musical sounds. He woke up and walked to where he thought it was coming from. It seemed loudest standing right in front of his great-great-great-grandfather's fiddle and bow hanging on the wall. This motif was so vivid in Bobby's mind that he ended up writing a whole song around it. That song was ultimately used on an album released by a band that he was a part of called Hunker Down. That album is called Wood for the Fire. It was released in 2009. The song is called Old Fiddle, and it was even featured in a horror movie soundtrack. I couldn't find which horror movie it was included in, and frankly, Bobby couldn't either, but regardless, it was featured in a soundtrack. And later, when he played in an Irish rock group called Pochine, fellow band member at the time, Melissa Ivy, ended up writing her own lyrics to that tune. You can check out Hunker Down and Pochine wherever you get your music. You can see what Pochine is up to now and who's currently a member of that band by going to their website at potcheenband.com, and you can find Melissa Ivy in various places on social media, including Facebook and Instagram, and wherever you get your music. That's Melissa Ivey. But back to Colorado Junction, the current lineup. The lineup for Colorado Junction has always included Troy. I wanted him to talk about his past last because I actually have interviewed him before. I covered his solo career and promoted a solo show of his in the May 4th, 2023 edition of The Mountain Ear for the Music of the Mountains column. At the time, I wasn't able to get his podcast interview out there, but I ended up getting it out there in 2024. You can hear his previous podcast interview for his solo career in retrospective episode 6, which also features Scott Dale. But for anybody who hasn't read that article or who hasn't listened to that particular episode of the podcast, I want a refresher from you, Troy. What's your musical background been? And have there been any major updates since the last time we talked?
No, just kind of common through like these guys, just a lot of music around my house as a kid. One of the big things, my grandma had an old record player and she was always into jazz and symphony stuff. So just always having it just around. My record collection as well, full of the same stuff in the other room. So just being able to share that with my kids is a big part for me. My brother played guitar growing up, so that was always something that was always around the house. He's several years older than me and was always an influence. Fell pretty heavily into the jam scene. I lived in the South for much of my adolescence and college years in Georgia, so had a lot of big Allman Brothers, Widespread Panic, Fish, Grateful Dead, those type bands around, so pretty heavy influence in that. Moved out to California, lived in Lake Tahoe for a while, played all around Lake Tahoe with a couple different groups, played bass in one jam band and played in a couple acoustic groups. But when I was at Lake Tahoe, met my wife, we ended up moving to Nashville for a couple of years, and there I answered a Craigslist ad and met a guy from a band called the Winter Sounds, who was an established indie rock band, and met him at a bar. And it was funny, as I was waiting for him to walk in, the bartender's like, "Oh, who are you meeting here?" I was like, some guy, I'm a bass player." He's like, "Oh, here's my album. I need a bass player too." And that's just kind of the way Nashville was. But met Patrick Keenan from the Winter Sounds, great band. Look those guys up. It's an indie rock band that still plays, and toured around the South with those guys, and tour managed a band called Stokeswood, which was like a live electronica band from Atlanta. Ended up having a couple kids, and we moved out to Colorado, and always loved bluegrass music, and kind of just fell really hard into that scene. I actually fell into it before in Nashville, before I moved out to Colorado. Colorado, so I had somewhat of a footing in it. And out here, like Chris says, there are just some fantastic pickers all over the place. Great bands all over, so you try to learn from your peers and try to expand what you know, and meeting these guys and just blending what we have together has been kind of the mission for the last year. Woodshedding and getting ready for the spring. Bobby comes back in April, so a lot of the gigs, we love the outdoor gigs. We love the outdoor breweries. So that scene is a lot of time our bread and butter. So we try to book pretty heavily through April through November. We have shows, like I say, at Busey Breweries on the 26th. On February 1st, we'll be playing at Left Hand Brewery up in Longmont from 5:30 to 8:30. And then we have a show that's just about to get ready to get announced. I'll throw it out. Hopefully we'll be playing at the 100 Nickel on Thursday, 3/13. That's put on by the Mishawaka folks. It's actually, they throw the stage over a bowling alley, and you have people bowling, and they have disco lights and laser tag in the next room.
Like a rock and bowl.
Yeah, like a rock and bowl. It's just a super fun event. Cool music series. They do a lot of local bands there. The promo team there has done a great job of getting Grateful Dead cover bands in there. A lot of our friends play there. They have DJs. And just a cool event during the winter when it gets really cold. You can go to the bowling alley, listen to live music, drink beer, eat pizza, and bowl. And just have a good night.
All right, now we've got the backstory from all of you guys. Let's talk about the current lineup of Colorado Junction, and particularly the duo show that's coming up that we're promoting for this particular Music of the Mountains segment. So, Troy, you reached out to me about this particular show because I know you're playing at this duo show, but I'm curious, which of the other three is performing with you?
Actually, none of these guys. Actually, our old mandolin player, Aaron Pomerantz, he missed out on a couple gigs. He's just a good friend. Like I say, he was part of Colorado Junction 1.0, 2.0, one of those two. But again, they're still great friends. So we see him all over the place and still play music with them, invite him to sit in or just play with them. Everybody was busy, and it's just a Sunday show. So invite a buddy, and he knows all of our music. Actually, I think Aaron's band hopefully will be opening for us at the 100 Nickel. Their name is Last Mile Country Club. So it's like a new band that's been popping up. They've been getting out there. So we're just waiting on a couple more confirmations, and we got a show.
I'm getting some bluegrass sensibilities out of all of you guys coming together and playing music, but I'm curious, do you guys primarily focus on bluegrass? Do you venture into other styles of music every now and again? And are there any styles that you're just willing to jump into as a group?
Yes,
and in general?
Yes. And probably because I'm like the least from a little bluegrass background. I play electric bass, so that'll tell you something. But we all share, I think, a love of some of the older like country rock and bands like The Band, Pure Prairie League, things like that are not quite bluegrass, but just great music. One of the things I think we do best is a lot of really nice ring-in harmonies, and that's something that both on the bluegrass and on some of the more Americana style music that we do, I think really comes through.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dave hit the nail on the head there. I mean, we can do anything from traditional style bluegrass to some crazy cover that doesn't typically fall within the bluegrass realm, but we kind of make it our own. I mean, I grew up with Paul Simon and the Eagles and all that classic rock stuff. And of course, we throw the Grateful Dead in there that everybody knows. And then you've got all the classic bluegrass stuff. We come together when we rehearse and we take a song that we all really like and all really know, or say, how can we vamp this to where it's going to work with kind of a string band feel to it? And we kind of come up with a plan, and we can try it. Maybe it doesn't work. If we try it and it works, we'll put it on the set list. So there's a lot of cool stuff we've been doing, and good harmonies is really key. And of course, we're all taking our breaks, and it's been really fun, and I've been really enjoying the sound. So.
And have you guys been writing originals as a lineup at this point? Have you been performing originals written by all four of you, or any combination of the four of you, or even from other members of the previous lineups?
I'd say we don't got a ton of originals, but we have a decent amount of originals that we've all wrote. Dave's wrote a lot of them. How many originals do you think we do? I know I got one.
We've got several that we do, and I've got a bunch that we haven't even started doing yet, but we could.
Yeah, we probably had in 2.0 band, we probably had 6 or 7. And with this project, we relearned the different sets, and then we're bringing a lot of those originals back and trying to rework them. So I think we had 3 or 4. Bobby had a couple originals and stuff like that, some fiddle tunes. So we've all been playing music for years and years, and just pulled old originals from past projects and stuff like that down as well.
I think, that's accurate. To get originals going in a band that's so young, I think is pretty tough. We want to cater to to the crowd. We want to cater to the venue. We want to cater to the promoter. And every place we're playing is different. So if we can throw an original in there or two and they're going to enjoy it, we're certainly going to do so. But those will come, I think, more with us playing together with this group. And hopefully 2025, I'd like to have a goal of, us having 10 originals by the end of the year. But we play a lot of covers and we've been playing them really well. So
yeah, that's doable. I mean, they write like one a day in Nashville or more. So.
Yeah.
And over the years, what stuck out to all of you about performing live, either by yourselves or with a group of people, and sharing your music with an audience?
Oh, I'd say with anything in life, if you're not enjoying it, it ain't worth doing. But I'm really loving not only the places we're playing and the feel of the music, and it's always nice to be able to record our shows and go back to listen to what we've just done at every single venue. That really gives me a sense of, hey, I may be able to do that solo better, or hey, that one's locked in. We don't even need to rehearse that next practice. And I played probably thousands of shows, and this group is a great group. I've never really had the harmony that we've had in this group, which I think there's a lot of great pickers out there, but not a lot of groups out there have a good 4-part harmony, and I lived in Nashville as well too. Back in 2007, I interned out of Nashville. So learned a lot with what it takes to make it in the music industry. And I think we're coming along great as far as harmonies and the style of music we're doing.
Yeah, I think another thing just about playing live music is the more that you're playing with people who listen, the more fun it is. And that's another thing that I really appreciate about these guys is like when we're playing and we're listening to each other, we're following each other, we're trying to think about how to come together on a jam and go somewhere, and that's really a lot of what makes it fun.
Also, a lot of the gigs take you all over Colorado, so you get to explore. We play a lot in the Front Range, but we get out to a lot of marathons. Actually, last summer we played a few. We did like Breckenridge Marathon. We did that Trail Fest. Beautiful.
Boulder was fun.
Oh yeah, Boulder. Excited about that. Was super fun.
Yeah, for the Boulder, we're right at like mile marker 3.5. We always play at my buddy Joe's house. Joe from Boulder Lawn Service.
Nice.
We're gonna throw them one out, Joe. Go see Joe for all your needs. But we play at his house, and just seeing 100,000 people run by you with just smiles on their faces. I have some video. I wish it just wasn't so shaky. I'd put it out, but just seeing people run by the camera and just having a great time at 7:30 in the morning. We load in at like 6, right in front. The sun's barely up, and Joe's in back smoking meat and cooking everything for everybody and just having a great time. And Boulder just shines that day. It's one of our favorites.
Yeah, super fun.
And I want to make sure everybody gets the chance to answer this question. So, Troy, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, not really. We've touched a lot about it. This year is going to be focused on really hitting the venues that we've really enjoyed the last couple of years. We've had some really established venues that we've loved, like Wonderland and Four Noses and some great venues like that. But we've also picked up some new places like Left Hand Brewery and Frolic Brewery, and just great establishments that love live music. And we're always happy that bluegrass goes over well with a lot of our crowds. And it's always fun to see people kind of tilt their head because they're like Chris said, we're playing Paul Simon on bluegrass, or we're playing Genesis, or we're playing just something that people aren't kind of used to, but it's just got the bluegrass instrumentation, and call it grass it up. You got to turn it up and speed it up and just flip it over. So looking forward to that this year.
And for all of you guys, what's been fun bringing new songs to the stage, putting new twists on old songs, all of that stuff? What's fun for you about trying to keep your shows fresh?
Yeah, just not getting burned out on playing a song too long. It's nice to have stuff up your sleeve and have new creative energy. And some of the songs you play every time, though, and you love it every time, But it's always exciting to get new stuff in there, too.
Yeah, I'd say definitely not playing the song over and over and over, but there's some that we do. But really, it's the crowd's reaction. I mean, we're playing a different venue. We're playing the same song, but it's different people listening. Really, with any band that I've ever been, is the reaction. You take a set break and people are coming up to you asking, where are you guys from? What have you guys been doing? I mean, being interviewed on the spot during a set break. And that means people are enjoying it. And we've had some really good responses from audiences everywhere we go. So I think we're on the right path, and we'll continue on changing it up and explain what people love and what we like to do.
Dave also accidentally hung up and came back in during this particular point in the call. You might have heard a ping just a bit ago. He came back in, and I refreshed him on the question in case he wanted to add anything.
I did have one other thought, which was just, I think we have obviously a diverse musical background, but also a lot in common about what we've grown up listening to and listened to a lot. And I mean, for everybody, a lot of the places you go, people want to hear music they've heard before. They want to hear familiar music. And honestly, as a musician, that same feeling that you get where you're just like, oh, that was a great song, makes you sometimes want to play it. And if you do it a little differently, it's like, oh, you're giving it new life. So I think that's something that's fun about picking songs that we all know from way back.
And what do you hope people take away from your shows when they come to see you, or take away from your music when they listen to it?
I just want to see people go support live music, go support these great venues that we have, and everybody just get back out there. I know for years people weren't getting out there as much as they were, and music's been back for the last couple of years, but just really that great sense of community that's built around Colorado for music. We have a lot of different great pockets of music within Colorado, and the bluegrass is definitely one of the big chunks here, and just want to see it continue for generations.
For me, it's just joy. I mean, if you can get some joy out of listening to us, I mean, you got a bartender back there that had a bad day and we play a gig and then it totally pulls a 180 on their day, and or somebody in the audience just loving it and they go home feeling the joy of music. I mean, really, that's why I play out, for people to listen and to feel joy about it and just to be happy with everything that's going on in the world. That's why I continue to do it.
You're here.
Yeah, it's just who I am, man. I practice every day, for hours and hours. I just enjoy it. I really do. It gets really boring playing by yourself after a while, too. It's a whole different thing when you play with friends. Everybody's in tune with each other. When it's going good, it's amazing. It goes good a lot with these guys, so it's really fun. And everything else is just icing on the cake. But to be able to play these venues and get paid for it, it's great, man. I hope venues keep doing this, and we're always going to be scouting new ones, huh, Troy? Troy's awesome about communicating with venues and keeps his word, and it's great.
Yeah, that's the one thing, too, with this group. I mean, we just mesh and click so well, and there's not really a good defining reason why, but it just kind of happens. I've been in a lot of groups where you go out and play a show, and we're like, oh, that was a rough one. It just doesn't seem to happen with these guys, which is always fun.
First venue ever or something, and we're still...
Yeah, we could just, we can come in having a bad day, or we got caught in traffic, or, throughout the course of playing shows, something's bound to happen where you have a bad show, and it just doesn't really seem to happen with us. I think it's probably because we're all so positive in any situation, and regardless of where we're at, we're just trying to do what we love and please the audience, really.
Yeah, and doing that, in this band, we all get a chance to shine and feel fulfilled, I played in a lot of bands, and sometimes it's like your role is really boring, because it's not enjoyable as a musician sometimes, but with this group, it's exciting every time. I feel like we get better every single time we play together, so that's really amazing, especially when we get practices in. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I think also because we just as people get along, it's a rare band where there's not somebody who you're like, right? Yep. But yeah, these guys are all, we're all cool, we're all pretty chill, we're all positive, so that also helps to have that musical connection, not having tension.
Yeah.
So, Colorado Junction. What are your plans for 2025? Are there any projects coming up for the band as well as performances? I phrased this question in a way where the band thought I was asking about other projects that they have been involved with, and so that's how Bobby answered the question first.
I have a really rad gig I just booked at this pub in Tempe called The Vine, and she booked me, hopefully my friend Unique, but it might just be me, but it's going to be 5 one-hour sets, and it's going to be crazy. It's a solo looping, mixing it between laying down a nasty loop with the violin and then guitar, and then also I'm going to do a pub sing-along set. So I'll have a pamphlet that I leave out at the bar and everybody can sing along and do Irish rock tunes or whatever, pub sing-alongs. And just kind of mixing it up with that and some fingerstyle stuff. And yeah, it's crazy. But Troy inspired me to buy a brand new QSC 16 board. And when I come back, we'll have 2 more QSC 12s, which will be awesome. But I got that going on. And then I'm playing with a band down here called $10 Wedding. They're a pretty hot bluegrass band. They won Pickin' in the Pines and just a whole bunch of band competition stuff. But we're playing the Arizona Bluegrass Roundup Bluegrass Festival, and yeah, just a bunch of gigs with them as a sub for their fiddle player, and she can't do it. So trying to keep busy while I'm down here.
Chris then came in to clarify if I was asking about Colorado Junction specifically, and I was, but I was also open to hearing any more about other projects that the band members are currently involved in.
Yeah. Oh, no. Colorado Junction will be playing. I mean, I think we're going to have a lot more stuff booked here later in January, even though with Bobby being out of town, our friend Jeremy on banjo is a really great banjo player, plays with Big Hooray Bluegrass Band. He'll come and play with us. So I think there's a lot more stuff to come with us, a lot more dates. As far as me and Strung High, I'll probably wander up to the hills and get my A Basin days in, which is one of my favorite places to play. Arapahoe Basin and Breckenridge, and doing all the ski operas up there is typical for me in wintertime. And then we do have a lot of private stuff. We play a lot at the Brown Palace Hotel in downtown Denver, which is a lot of fun too. But I think as far as projects for Colorado Junction, I mean, the sky's the limit. It's just how much can we play and our availability. I mean, I have a 3-year-old myself. Troy's got 3 kids, and Dave's almost got him out the door.
No, they're out the door.
Oh, he's got him out the door. So he's got more availability than us.
Do it.
But I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming up for us, especially when Bobby gets back.
Yeah,
There'll be tons of different projects.
We're writing, 9-10 songs by the end of the year, right? So then
I was thinking about when I said that, I was like, maybe 10 to 20.
Yeah, there you go.
10 to 20 is doable.
Then
we
should be recording them.
If 20 of them are good, 10 good ones is what I'd say.
Yeah, that's enough for an album.
There you got an album, exactly.
So look out for the Colorado Junction album coming to your...
I mean, we already have we could make a live album. We already have a live album.
Yeah, we could release a live album if you wanted to. We just need to kind of go through. All the shows are recorded.
Yeah, we got to cut down.
So if we wanted to go through and collectively what we'd want to release, we can certainly do so. And there's some good stuff recorded. So it may start with a live album release or a live show release.
Well, is there anything else that any of you guys want to add on your end?
No, just throw out some of our handles. You can check us out. We got Facebook going, Instagram, YouTube page, there's a SoundCloud that should be getting some more stuff up as well. So a lot of those things are getting revamped and just getting pushed forward for the spring. So we're going to be excited to get out there and have a great spring, summer, and fall.
In that case, I think those are the big questions I have on my end.
Jamie, we appreciate it tonight, man.
Thank you so much to Troy, Dave, Chris, and Bobby for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. As mentioned, this current lineup of the Colorado Junction String Band will start performing again later in 2025 once Bobby returns from Arizona. So be sure to head to their Facebook page and their Instagram page to see when they'll be performing next. As a warm-up, though, Troy will be performing with Aaron Pomerantz, who played mandolin in a previous lineup of Colorado Junction as the Colorado Junction Duo. They'll be performing at Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland, on Sunday, January 26, 2025, starting at 2 p.m. And now, for this week's Music Mentions. Head to Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland on Sunday, January 26th, starting at 2 p.m. to see the Colorado Junction Duo performing live. Head to Eldora Mountain Resort, located primarily at 2861 Eldora Ski Road in Nederland, for a smattering of upcoming performances. Head there on Wednesday, January 22nd, starting at noon, to see Lori Dameron performing live in Timbers Tap House. Head over there on Friday, January 24th, starting at 9 a.m. to see Sundragon performing in the Boombox. Head over there on Friday, January 24th, starting at noon, to see the artist-in-residence PJ Moon performing in Timbers Tap House. Head over there on Saturday, January 25th, starting at 9 a.m. to see St. Patrick in the Boombox. Head over there on Saturday, January 25th, starting at noon, to see Brandywine and El Michelle performing together in Timbers Tap House. And head over there on Sunday, January 26th, starting at 9 a.m. to see DJ Darren in the Boombox. And again on Sunday, January 26th, starting at noon, to see Hunter Stone in Timbers Tap House. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown, on Wednesday, January 22nd, starting at 5 p.m. for an open mic night. Head over there on Thursday, January 23rd, starting at 7 p.m. to see Chris Sheldon and friends performing live. And head over there on Friday, January 24th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Axamoxoa performing live. Knotted Root Brewing is still hosting their regular music events. Head over to 250 North Caribou Street in Nederland every Wednesday at 6 p.m. for an open mic night, every Friday at 7:30 p.m. for a DJ night, every second Friday at 7:30 p.m. for a reggae DJ night, and every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Jazz Sundays. And finally, pick your preference. If you want to head over to Gilpin County, then be sure to check out the Very Nice Brewing Company location at 180 Jankowski Drive in Blackhawk on Saturday, January 25th, starting at 5 p.m. to see David Tillman performing live. If you want to head over to Nederland, then be sure to head over to the Very Nice Brewing location at 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in the Caribou Village Shopping Center on Saturday, January 25th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Aaron Mitchell performing live. Did we miss you or any of your performances? You want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountaineer. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I promise this time I will be back on Monday, regardless of what happens, and that next week you're getting 3 episodes of the Mountaineer Podcast to make up for only 1 this week. A regular segment from Marianne Rosen, a community-centered episode of the podcast, and our regular Music of the Mountains segment. Hopefully in the near future, I'll find a way to update all of you guys outside of the podcast episodes. But in the meantime, if you want to check out more episodes of this podcast or share episodes around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head over to our website at the mtnear.com and scroll near to the bottom, or head over to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com, where you can find the full archive of all the episodes. If you're connected to the Peak to Peak area in any way, shape, or form, and you want to be featured on the podcast, if you want to tell a story, if you want to promote something, if you want us to feature advertising, whatever it is, be sure to email me at media@themountaineer.com and we'll get something sorted for you. Oh, before we go, though, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. There's a feature on Buzzsprout that I turned on a while ago that I wanted to see if anybody ended up utilizing. But the truth is, I'm not sure if anybody else, aside from me, knows that this feature is there. So I wanted to mention it. If you find our list of episodes for the Mountaineer Podcast and you look at the episode descriptions for each individual episode, you'll find a link that you can click that says, "Send us a text." This link is in every podcast episode description for the Mountaineer Podcast. So, if you want to send us a message based on a particular episode of the podcast or about the podcast as a whole, feedback for the podcast, suggestions for potential topics, notes that I talk way too much in the interludes, whatever it may be sure to send us a text, and we'll try and take the feedback into account and maybe find a way to incorporate those messages into the podcast in the future. For now, though, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday. Have a great rest of your day!
Well, it's in the spring, one sunny day. My good girl left me. No, she went away. Oh no, now she's gone. I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. She called me up.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Sitting on Top of the World, and it's performed by Colorado Junction String Band. This performance was recorded live at Four Noses Brewery, and Colorado Junction will be coming back much stronger with a new lineup in 2025. So be sure to keep an eye on their social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to learn more about the string band. As a warm-up performance, though, if you want to see Troy Yanel, current member of Colorado Junction, and Aaron Pomerantz, previous member of Colorado Junction, then be sure to head over to Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland, on Saturday, January 26, 2025, to see the Colorado Junction duo performing, starting at 2 p.m.
Ashes, ashes, and dust, dust. Find me a woman that a man can trust. Now she's gone and I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.